Welcome to Light Novel Sound, where we bring stories to life. Get ready for an epic journey through Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, a story filled with action, mystery, and mind-blowing twists. A huge thank you to Sing-Shong for crafting this incredible story. If you enjoy this audiobook, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, sit back, relax, and let's begin. Chapter 56, Episode 12, First-Person Protagonist's Point of View, 3. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband applauds your spirit. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire praises your courage. The constellation Secretive Plotter is curious about your tactics. Times. Some constellations are greatly impressed by your performance. 20,000 coins have been sponsored. I frowned as the indirect messages poured in without a filter. No one disliked praise. However, dozens of praises pouring in at once was too much. Where did Bi-hyun go and why didn't he manage the messages? He would have been called by the Administrator Bureau right now. There was no compensation for the hidden scenario and the intermediate Dokibi disappeared without saying something. By the way, the total number of sponsored coins was 20,000 coins. The minority channels were different from the large channels. I quickly looked at the Fire Dragon's body and pulled out the core. 5th grade Fire Dragon's core. A core surrounded by a soft red light. The quality of the core that came out from the disaster was unusual. It was deteriorated, but it was still a dragon. There were many beneficial parts. For example, the bones and leather. It could be processed by a good blacksmith or exchanged. I looked down at the body of the fire dragon. I had caught a disaster but to only obtain this much. Then there was a sudden pain from my back as well as a cheerful voice. Dr. Sai, what game character are you? I turned around and saw Jung Hee-won standing behind me. A cough came out. My physical state is so bad right now that I will die from one hit from you. You will live even if you are killed. That isn't necessarily the case. I expected Jung Hee-won to ask, but she was somewhat quiet. I realized that she was greatly shocked when I died. She seemed to have cried. No, Jung Hee-won wasn't crying. She lowered her voice like she was conscious of the other party members. Did you know this and acted? Not everything. I really thought you were dead. But I survived. Once again, her strong palm slapped against my back. Lee Hyun-sung came running out late. Dr. Sai. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Lee Sung-kirk and Jung Min-sub were far away and came together. In fact, I wanted these guys to die here, but they were really lucky. Well, they were in my group now, so I could control them at any time. But silence fell as everyone stared at me. I sighed and said, "You can ask one by one. What are your questions?" A sudden hearing began. Resurrection is a new privilege I have gained. It isn't due to my sponsor. I moderately avoided the difficult information and only told them what I thought they needed to know. Jung Hee-won muttered with a dumbfounded expression. Resurrection every time you save someone, isn't this a scam? It is one resurrection per 100 people, but a scam is a scam. I honestly admitted it. However, the King of No Killing also had a fatal weakness. As long as I had this attribute, I couldn't directly take the life of another person. It wasn't a problem to injure, oppress, or make them unable to fight, but he couldn't kill them. The King of No Killing would be deprived of his throne when he killed a person. Of course, I didn't talk about these things. No good would come from it being known. You have to work hard to save people in the future. In some cases, people need to be killed. Don't worry. I'll kill them for you. Jung Hee-won stated in a confident voice. In fact, I was able to choose the King of No Killing with ease because of Jung Hee-won. It was the reason why I raised the Judge of Destruction in the first place. It wasn't a big problem to keep the King of No Killing until the middle scenarios, although there might be frustrating moments when playing solo. As time went by, there would be more fraudulent attributes. I got a good attribute in the beginning, so it would be hard to miss the timing to change it. But this is really like a fantasy novel. Now you have all types of abilities. Lee Sung-kook, Jung Min-sob and Lee Hyun-sung were watching. I intentionally stared at them. It was a warning to Jung Hee-won not to say anything. She accepted it and Lee Sung-kook opened his mouth. What did it feel like when you died? It was terrible, of course. I wanted to ask why he asked this, but Lee Sung-kook spoke again in a serious voice. Honestly, I was a bit scared when I saw you rising alive again. You are scared? Yes. Strictly speaking, your entire body disappeared and was restored. Common sense says that such a thing can't happen. I don't know what the principle of this world is, but if your existence can be duplicated in the entirety, you might not have been resurrected but cloned. He spoke a creepy story in a calm voice. It was something I never thought about. It reminded me that this guy's attribute was hypnotist. Wasn't he interesting? Jung Hee-won started scolding him. Have you been watching too many movies? This is an important matter. If there is no continuity between your death and resurrection, there is no guarantee that pre-death representative Nim is the same person as post-resurrection representative Nim. They were difficult words. Several memories crossed my mind. This brat, was he the one who got offended by the pedantic prologue? You have a very quaint idea, but there is no need to worry. I was still conscious after my death. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a real death. Did you experience a soul state? I don't know if it can be called a soul, but I felt a bit of unease as I talked. Ways of Survival was a world created by the author. This world became a reality. A world in which the soul wasn't proven now became a world in which the soul was taken for granted. In such a world, what was my existence? Me, my soul. Did it exist from the beginning? Or was I party of the story that the author made? I shook my head. Now wasn't the time to be thinking about this. In any case, are the useless questions over? Can I ask one more question? What? Why are you suddenly using honorifics with me and Min-sob? My Yo Jong-hyuk concept is over. Lee Sung-kook made a surprised expression as he belatedly realized. Come to think about it. I didn't need to hear his words. The concept of over, but their treatment wouldn't dramatically change. I reached out a hand towards Lee Sung-kook. Give me your smartphone. Yes. I want a phone. Lee Sung-kook stuck out his phone. It was a good model. It was better than what I used. Can I have this? Wasn't the Yo Jong-hyuk concept finished? This is my original concept. Lee Sung-kook was on the verge of tears. Everybody rest. I have to look at something for a while. We will move in 10 minutes. You can also collect the items. The party members gathered the items scattered all over the place while I used the smartphone to access the internet. I pretended to be unconcerned, but I was actually a little nervous. The hidden scenario compensation settlement will be delayed. The plausibility request is currently underway at the Administration Bureau. It was due to these messages. The plausibility judgment. This was why the coins compensation from the hidden scenario weren't received. I wanted to check the relevant parts in Ways of Survival, but my smartphone was burned. It was a mistake that wasn't like me. This was ominous. What if the mail sent by the author was erased? At this moment, a message appeared on the screen of my smartphone. Syncing to a new device is available. Do you still want to proceed with the sync? What is this? I pressed OK, the download of the file proceeded and a new file was created on the background screen. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world.txt. I see. There was this. Indeed, a file that couldn't be read by the Dokibus or constellations couldn't disappear so easily. I looked at Lee Sung-kook and Jung Min-sob collecting the items. I suddenly wondered. Would they be able to read this? Still, I should be careful as possible. I opened up Ways of Survival and started to read. Your reading speed has increased due to the effect of the exclusive attribute. I found the plausibility request that took place during Yo Jong-hyuk's 6th regression. The intermediate Dokibi of the Seoul Bureau, Baram, frowned upon reading the scenario in front of him. TL, Baram equals wind. The top of the document had the name Regressor Yo Jonghyuk. A regressor? Damn. The Dokibis and constellations noticed quickly. Baram looked over at the Dokibis. No senior Dokibis or great Dokibis could be seen. It was natural. This was a plausibility request that occurred at the level of a local dome. The principle was that the world of the district should be solved in the district. Baram asked the nervous-looking Dokibis. Who petitioned the Bureau? Auni of Japan. Why is he worrying about a foreigner instead of his own country? Doesn't he have any business? There is a lot of fierce fighting between the low-grade Dokibis these days. Baram frowned. Certainly, according to the report, it was worth doing a plausibility request for Yo Jonghyuk. There was also a lot of important information that was automatically filtered from the beginning. In addition, the skill sage's eyes meant that some items couldn't be accessed by the system. The data survey required the help of a higher-level administration. Baram sighed and covered up the report. It's okay. This guy is someone who has received permission from my superiors. Leave him alone. Is it okay? The aftermath. He has a sponsor that we can't afford to go against. We can't go against a single constellation? What if the Constellation Alliance? Baram laughed. How can you lecture me? Do you know who his sponsor is? That's not it. It will soon be the fifth scenario, so take care of it. The plausibility will be gradually offset as the scenario progresses. The atmosphere suddenly became cold and he said to the intermediate Dokibi, Don't you have work to do these days? Why do sales in the United States and India look like this? Isn't there the profit in the US and the Constellation Alliance in India? Why are the sales like this when there are so many rich targets? Are you not making the products well? That. Shit, don't give excuses. Quickly sell the coin goods. A laugh emerged. I was reminded of Microsoft when looking at the Dokibis working. The planning division wasn't a joke. In any case, I was now in a situation similar to Yo Jonghyuk in ways of survival. I thought that this would happen someday, but this was why it wasn't good to be noticed. What if the judgment caused me damages? At that moment, a trembling voice was heard in the air. How many times do I have to be called to the Bureau because of you? Bi-hyung. I opened the Dokibi communication. How did it go? Chapter 57. Episode 12, First-Person Protagonist's Point of View, 4. What is happening? Things have turned completely upside down. What skills do you have? Why can't I access the information even when I ask the Supervisory Bureau? I was curious as well. I also wanted to see my attributes window. So what happened? Am I going to be penalized? Where did you hear that? Hey, do you know how hard I defended you? Administrator, please listen to me. Kim Dokja isn't a scammer or a strange person. He is just a very hard worker. He speak in a convincing manner. Fortunately, my earnest appeal was taken into consideration. I've analyzed the entire scenario and found that you only used a few skills. It isn't enough to destroy the ecology of the scenarios. It was as I expected. I didn't learn passive skills for no reason. The more good skills I used, the easier it was to attract the attention of the Bureau. Besides, there are some loud guys in other areas. The Bureau is busy right now. Then it worked out well? In fact, there are a few jerks, but instructions came down from the upper management and the great Dokibi said to dismiss it. I was amazed by the unexpected words. The great Dokibi interfered? Sai, listen to the intermediate Dokibi. I shouldn't be here. There are suddenly more eyes on me. You should be careful. This is the jurisdiction of the intermediate Dokibi and he has a firm grudge against you. Grudge? Don't you know? The plausibility meeting is like a tax investigation. In any case, you will have a hard time for a while. Bi-hyung disappeared. Then there was a huge spark in the air and the intermediate Dokibi showed up in a formal suit. He looked around for a while before speaking in a gruff voice. I'm sorry everyone. There was a bit of friction and the compensation was late. It is late but I will now reward you. 3,000 coins have been acquired for clearing the hidden scenario. You have earned 15,000 coins as compensation for killing the 5th grade fire dragon. You have obtained the protection symbol of the Immunter for being the first to prevent a disaster. In the future, you will get the favor of the Immunter people. Fortunately, the compensation was paid normally. In addition, the protection symbol of the Immunter. Now that I got this, the upcoming 5th scenario wouldn't be so bad. It wasn't as much as what I got, but the faces of the other party members were hilarious once they received a clear reward. By the way, stingy bastards. I caught a disaster and these were the only rewards? Then the intermediate Dokibi started talking. By the way, you worked so hard that there was a bit of a problem with the scenario. There was something sarcastic and ominous about his tone. As a result of discussions with the Bureau, it was reported that the average skill of the local incarnations doesn't match the difficulty of the scenario. Therefore, I have arbitrarily adjusted the difficulty level in my area using my own judgment. What? A random adjustment? The time limit of the 4th scenario has been significantly reduced. The mouth of the intermediate Dokibi curved up strangely as he looked at me. No, this bastard? There are 48 hours left until the end of the 4th scenario. All group representatives and members who haven't taken over the target within the next 48 hours will die. Yes, this was what he was planning? Jung Min-sob stared at me from where he was picking up the fallen items. Everyone had probably heard the message. Who has Changsin Station now? T. the Tyrant King. One of the 7 kings of Seoul, the Tyrant King. I said with a sigh, then let's return to Chungnuro. By the way, I didn't know if Yo Jonghyuk was doing well or not. Let's wrap up the 4th scenario. The distance from Anguk Station to Chungnuro was further than I thought. During the journey, we exchanged a few stories. Jung Hee-won and Lee Hyun-sung walked ahead, while I walked in the rear with Lee Sung-keuk and Jung Min-sub. I couldn't take the entire body of the fire dragon, so I put half of it on the exchange. The other half was also placed on the exchange, but I deliberately put it at a ridiculously high price. It wasn't for sale but a trick to use the exchange as a warehouse substitute. Bi-hyun grumbled but I ignored it. Jung Min-sob opened his mouth. By the way, Representative Nim. It felt strange because I really felt like a big company's president when I kept being called Representative Nim. Is your name Kim Dokja? Yes. Ah, it really is your name. Is it unusual? Yes. Honestly, you are more like a prophet than we are. His voice was rather subdued. Sigh, if only I hadn't stopped reading. It was a belated regret. At this moment, I had a moment of doubt. There was something I wanted to ask but I had forgotten. Jung Min-sob sigh, I want to ask you something. Yes. How did the prophets gather so quickly? This was a point that I always found strange. It hadn't been more than a month since the initial scenario started. However, these guys had already been working as a group. Furthermore, the apostles were even worse. Based on the first-person protagonist's point of view, they had a fairly high armed force that couldn't be obtained without occupying a large number of stations. It was a growth that couldn't be understood with my common sense. There was someone who called us together. Called you together? Yes. Soon after the first scenario ended, he came to the station where I was. Interesting. How was this possible? At that point, there would still be a barrier between stations. He introduced himself as an apostle and said that he had read the Great Book of Revelations. He recruited prophets to follow him. The odd thing was that it happened simultaneously in different stations. It is hard to believe it was done by one person. In any case, we gathered because of that apostle. He pulled us into the group. Yes, we call that apostle the first apostle. Is he the king of the prophets? The person who hates being called someone who got off? Ah, you already know. Yes. He likes to be called another name. Another name? He claims to be a true reader. What? There was a lot of talk about why he would call himself such a name. We couldn't come to a conclusion. He claimed to have read all of the Book of Revelations, but as the story continued, this person's identity became more and more doubtful. When I thought about the information he took advantage of, he didn't seem like a reader. I was busy thinking when Chung Neuro approached. It hadn't been long since I left, but I felt like I had returned to my hometown as I took in the air of Chung Neuro Station. I restrained my companions from entering the station. Wait a minute. Thinking about it, I was still naked. Why hadn't anyone said anything? I spoke to Lee Sung-kook. Lee Sung-sai, please take off your pants. I took the lead to enter Chung Neuro Station, while Lee Sung-kook was forced to walk behind me in his underwear. I could see Yo Sang-ga welcoming me in the distance. I looked into her moist eyes and could see how hard it had been. Something ran into me and I saw Lee Gil-young attached to my right leg. Have you been well? The dusty Lee Gil-young nodded. Lee Ji-hai had a serious injury and hadn't woken up yet. Gong Pil-du scoffed and turned his head as soon as he saw me. The Constellation Defense Master reproaches you on your late return. It was a reaction I could understand since his incarnation nearly died. Yo Sang-ga-sai. Lee Hyun-sung and Jung Hee-won didn't know what happened in Chung Neuro and ran towards the people with an aghast expression. People around the platform were bleeding. In fact, Yo Sang-ga had a cloth bound tightly to her shoulder. Some of the railroad tracks were covered with blood. They were traces of a fierce fight. Jung Min-sob stuttered, "'T the apostles." The heads of number 2, 3, 4, and 7 were lined up side by side on the railroad tracks. Their expressions seemed like they didn't realize their own death. I knew who was this skillful. I asked Lee Gil-young, "Where is Yo Jong-hyuk?" As I spoke, I felt an ominous presence from the Hoyang tunnel side. I knew despite the distance. Our arrogant and dignified hero practiced the alone under heaven and earth scripture. Yo Jong-hyuk. He looked at me with no change in his expression. I thought he would say something about what happened in the theater dungeon, but what was this? The cut-off head of a person was still being held in his hands. Someone screamed while Yo Jong-hyuk threw the head this way. The head, rolling like a toy, was covered with a cloak with one on it. It was the first apostle. Yo Jong-hyuk was really great. He chased this guy to the end and killed him. I was half relieved and half anxious. I still had questions, but if the apostle died like this. At this moment, something ridiculous happened. It is you. You screwed up my plan. Right? The severed head suddenly started talking to me. Wak! What? Jung Min-sob screamed and fell over. The eyes looked up at me while he smiled smugly. It was impossible. The skills that could be used even when the head was cut off was extremely rare even in ways of survival. It was possible if he used the skill Immortal Delay, but even with that skill, he couldn't stay in a state with his head cut off. Besides, there was no blood from the cut neck. Wait. Perhaps? The information that I received from Lee Sung-kook and Jung Min-sob started to run through my head. A man who revealed himself to all prophets and claimed to be a true reader. He appeared all over Seoul as soon as the scenario began and gathered people. In addition, it was possible to pass through the barriers. He didn't die when his head was cut and there was no blood. The avatar ability. I was certain. The guy in front of me was a fake. The severed head continued to speak. Wow, I am really impressed. Pretending to be Yo Jong-hyuk, beating the apostles and the dragon. What is your identity? I see. This guy didn't know my identity? What are you? As far as I knew, there were very few people who could use the avatar ability in ways of survival. The occupation that received such an attribute was normally fixed. They were occupations engaged in creative work and frequently experienced dissociative personality disorder due to excessive stress. I slowly looked him up and down before asking, Are you perhaps a writer? Chapter 58, Episode 12, First-Person Protagonist's Point of View, 5. Writer. It was one of the few occupations in Ways of Survival that could give the avatar ability. Some of his strange miracles would be explained if he was a writer. The lips of the first apostle subtly twisted. Writer, do you mean the creator of the Book of Revelations? You have found out. That's right, I wrote the Book of Revelations. I didn't mean this, but this bastard was suddenly talking nonsense. For me, it was a truth that wasn't possible. I looked towards Yo Jong-hyuk. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has been activated. The character Yo Jong-hyuk is currently using lie detection LV6. I knew it. He was a meticulous jerk. I asked once again, You wrote the Book of Revelations? Yes. At the same time, I am also the sole owner of the Book of Revelations. A confident laugh emerged. Really? Let's challenge it once. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has used lie detection LV6. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has confirmed that the statement is true. What? This guy was telling the truth? I suddenly panicked and my circuits got tangled up. It wasn't possible no matter how I thought about it. I hid my confusion and asked again, What exactly is the revelation you are talking about? Why are you asking when you already know? A great epic about the future. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has confirmed that the statement is true. Strange. There was some truth about it? Now it is your turn. How did you know about the plan of me and the apostles? Are you also an apostle? You wrote the Book of Revelations yourself? Then shouldn't you know? It is fun to be an omniscient creator. He giggled like a leisurely villain while I regained my composure. No matter how I looked, he wasn't the author of Ways of Survival. If he was really the writer of Ways of Survival, there was no way he wouldn't know that he gave me a text version. By the way, it is interesting. I thought the woman in Sea Demon Prison would be the last apostle, but a man like you was hiding. Sea Demon Prison? You don't know yet? Let's trade. Reveal your true identity. Then I will give you some information. Let's see? I don't think you have information that I want. I might have been overpowered, but this isn't my real body. You were a bit lucky. I know information about the future. I deliberately interrupted him. Now was the time to sprinkle a bit of spice for Yo Jong-hyuk. In addition, I know much more than you. The character Yo Jong-hyuk has confirmed that your words are true. The expression of the first apostle stiffened. You're barking nonsense. I know more than you. At this moment, something flashed in his eyes. Wait a minute, perhaps. The moment he realized something, I also noticed something. This guy, was it him? Right now, there were 5 truths that I knew. 1. He had read Ways of Survival. 2. His occupation was a writer. 3. He wasn't the writer who wrote Ways of Survival. 4. He wrote a text that told the future. 5. His knowledge was only somewhat accurate. I read through 3,149 chapters of Ways of Survival. As far as I knew, Ways of Survival wasn't popular and there was no illegal text version. But if he was the guy that I thought, it would be understandable if this guy had a text version and knew a lot about Ways of Survival. I opened my mouth. Do you like to live while copying others? What? His eyes were shaken. There was no doubt. The first apostle was him. I didn't think you would live like this. The revelation. Do you want to live like this? My teeth starts grinding together when I think about your claims of being the creator of the Book of Revelations. What? It is somewhat strange. The information that you have used is meager. The guy paled. Isn't it time to stop acting like this? Are you still doing it despite the world becoming like this? Yo Jong-hyuk. The guy hurriedly looked at Yo Jong-hyuk. Yo Jong-hyuk. Work with me. He was silly. As I said before, I know all of the revelations. Only I can take you to the end of this road in this world. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2 has been activated. Due to high fatigue, you are unable to activate Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2. Damn, right now? Think carefully. You can't break through the 46 scenario alone. You have to hold hands with me to defeat Anna Croft and the Chalatustra. This jerk was speaking the same words I did. Yo Jong-hyuk shook his head. I have never heard of the revelations. It is like a prophecy. Can't you see my attribute? It even says that I am the last. The character Jong-hyuk has used Sage's Eyes LV8. I also activated the skill. The information of this person can't be read in character list. This person isn't registered in character list. Damn, I couldn't see it. Yo Jong-hyuk verified something with Sage's eyes and looked at me. The severed head continued to speak. Kill him. You should know that he is dangerous. He pretended to be you and will seriously damage you in the future. If you leave him alone, he will cause a serious butterfly effect and ruin all your plans. I was outraged. Did this jerk want to die together with me? Isn't it the same for you? I am different. Yo Jong-hyuk, hold hands with me. I will give you a vow or whatever you want. I will never betray you. He came out strongly. Yo Jong-hyuk watched the situation and opened his mouth. I see. Joining hands. Life started to creep into Yo Jong-hyuk's eyes as he looked at me. I couldn't inside his mind, so I was going crazy. Yo Jong-hyuk slowly moved his sword towards me. The first apostle's momentum rose as he shouted. Go ahead and kill him. Kill him. One is a prophet and one is a revelator. Kill him. Pyuk. Yo Jong-hyuk trampled on the head of the first apostle. Cuck, what? If you really know the future, then let me ask you one thing. What? The blade moved to my neck. The one sword that I experienced through Yo Jong-hyuk was now heading towards me. I felt a sting and something warm flowed down my neck. Hey! What are you doing? The surprised Jung Hee-won ran towards this side. I raised my hand and restrained the party. I was nervous, but it wasn't good to stimulate Yo Jong-hyuk here. Yo Jong-hyuk asked the first apostle. I will ask you. Will I kill this guy now or not? What? If you have really received a revelation of the future, you will know my choice. This bastard had a bad habit. He was doing this again? The face of the first apostle looked agonized. Maybe I was the same on the even bridge. Surprisingly, the answer came quickly. Of course you will kill him. You must do it. It was a face full of strong convictions. His face was arrogantly assured that Yo Jong-hyuk would act like this. Come on, kill him. And the sword moved. But what followed wasn't the sound of flesh being cut. Kwajik. The head of the first apostle burst as it was stepped on. The person wouldn't die because it was an avatar, but he would suffer considerable psychological damage. Yo Jong-hyuk's sword was soon removed. He was a moody bastard. I was a bit stunned. Yo Jong-hyuk chose to spare me? I felt a bit shaken. I wasn't sure. Yo Jong-hyuk stared at me for a moment before walking away. Hey! Where are you going? This jerk, he must think he was so cool. Honestly, he was a bit cool. Just wait. Are you going to leave with Lee Ji-hai? Since the future has changed, the plan has also changed. Why don't you act together with me? I can help you. Yo Jong-hyuk turned towards me. I reflexively shrank back at his eyes. The debt is paid off. My last favor is not taking away your flag. This bastard? But I couldn't retreat like this. In any case, you can't leave the station unless I remove you from the group. Do you want to receive the punishment? Yo Jong-hyuk slowly moved his hand towards the hilt of his sword. I quickly added. I know what your plan is. Aren't you going towards Jeongju? It is your goal to complete the black flag by walking the King's Road. I will help you. I would rather take your flag right now. Then try it. Is your sword faster or my tongue faster? It was a gamble. Yo Jong-hyuk could stab my neck before the effect of the punishment appeared. You don't need to go towards Jungju. Go to the north. The territory of the Tyrant King will be yours and it will help you make your grand flag. Getting a flag and removing the enemy, isn't it killing two birds with one stone? I can do it myself. There are 48 hours left until the end of the fourth scenario. Can you occupy 20 stations and complete the black flag in that time? Yo Jong-hyuk's hands hesitated. He was caught. Besides, don't you have a reason for going north? Surely you aren't going to throw away your family member at this time? You. Remain calm. I am speaking in good faith. I really will help. Yo Jong-hyuk's angry eyes stared at me for a moment. The atmosphere was strained. The killing intent soon disappeared. There is no such thing as anything free in the world. What are your conditions? As expected, the regressor was quick to notice. I said with a smile, it is simple. Let me know just one thing. My condition is that simple. What is it? That guy you just stepped on, what is his attribute? One would be the last to get off. What is the other one? After a while, Yo Jong-hyuk opened his mouth. 10 minutes afterwards, I called Jung Min-sub and Lee Sung-kook. It was a separate matter for the two of them. Before I could open my mouth, Jung Min-sub asked me first. In the end, what was that guy? I hesitated for a moment before asking. Do you know the novel SSSSS Grade Infinite Regressor? Ah, I read it. Lee Sung-kook raised his hand. Wasn't it the #1 platinum novel on Textpedia? It was really fun. Ah, that's right. I had forgotten but now it rings a bell. How did it finish? The two of them started speaking loudly as memories popped up. As expected, these guys must be interested in web novels if they read Ways of Survival. There were all types of elements but it was still fun. In fact, I read that novel. I was reading Ways of Survival and accidentally clicked on it since it was on the Today's Best list. Then I was surprised to see the development and setting of the novel. An infinite regressor psychopath. Sponsorship from transcendent beings. Streaming system. A survival game with absurd missions. In fact, these were common settings. The problem was the details of the common settings and the way they were combined. I had left a comment as soon as I read it. Isn't this plagiarizing Ways of Survival? I remembered. Rather than a plagiarism controversy, I was criticized for comparing it to a bad novel. I received terrible messages from the readers of SSSSS Grade Infinite Regressor. Isn't your business over there? Stop causing inconveniences. I was furious and even sent a note to the writer of Ways of Survival. Then the author said something. He was in a better mood because the number of views had increased. I teared up because I thought the author was pitiful. Lee Sung-kook asked, but why are you talking about this novel? The first apostle is the author of SSSSS Grade Infinite Regressor. Here? It can't be. That author would know Ways of Survival. Now that the world had turned into the novel, a writer who plagiarized the novel could claim copyrights on this world. In addition, he added the absurd setting of the revelation. After some explanations, Jung Min-sub understood and made an absurd expression. It was a plagiarized novel. Yes. Come to think of it, the novel was similar. I can't remember well because it is old. Why didn't that novel pop up first in my mind? I was much more famous. Is it due to the attribute? Only the portion we read popped up. The SS part is also confusing because there are too many novels with them. Is that so? In any case, the first apostle is a plagiarist? Then he will have a text version. I nodded and said, maybe he has a copy of his own plagiarized work. He copied the plot of the original so he can see the future of this world to a certain extent. It was painful when thinking that a plagiarist was successful even in this changed world. It was time to implement justice. Then isn't it impossible to win against him? If he copied the original to the end. It isn't to the end. He only copied the early parts. He would stop early to prevent a plagiarism controversy later on. After a bit more time, the information he knows will decrease. How do you know this? I just know. It was natural. In the chapters in the 100s, I was the only reader of Ways of Survival. Excuse me, how far did Representative Nim read in the original work? Before that, there is something you have to do. To be exact, it is something we have to do together. Their shoulders stiffened. Didn't you tell me before? The prophets were hit by the tyrant king. Maybe there are still a few people being used by him. Really? Then it is better. Yes. The time remaining until the scenario ended was 48 hours. It was hard to do it alone if I wanted to hunt the tyrant king. I will disturb the information of these guys. If the tyrant king was using the prophets, I could take advantage of it. Reveal part of the revelations. Here? How? They still didn't understand what I was talking about, so I kindly explained. From now on, we will make a text of SSSSS grade infinite regressor and spread it. If there were several enemies, the answer was to make them fight against each other. Chapter 59, Episode 13, War of Kings, 1. My plan was clear. The first apostle, the plagiarist, had information about the third and fourth regressions that were the beginning of Ways of Survival. As was always the case with informed people, he monopolized information and hid it from the prophets. On the other hand, the tyrant king was one of Saul's 7 kings who used the revelations after knowing about the existence of the prophets. The guy who wanted to monopolize information and the guy who tried to dig it out. It was obvious what would happen if the two of them faced each other. Lee Sung-Kuk asked, "Then you are going to make a novel text?" That's right. The plan itself was simple. We would make a text of the plagiarized writer's novel. Then spread it among the people of each station. Well, it was roughly this type of feeling. Some of the prophet's revelations have been leaked. The finish was laid out well. Thanks to Han Dong-hoon's internet comments manipulation, information on the prophets had already spread on the internet. If the leaking of a text version was known, there would be a big ripple. A few early readers would try to get a hidden piece while the tyrant king would naturally move to obtain them. But I have forgotten most of the contents of SSSSS grade infinite regressor. How will we make the text? Why do we need the contents of the plagiarized novel? Here. We remember the original. There was a short cry of admiration. However, Jung Min-sob's face was still dark. There is still a problem. The hidden pieces that we know about in Ways of Survival have been mostly used. I will give you information in hidden pieces. I know a few that are present in the beginning. I will release information on items of the right level. Above all, it had to catch the eye of the plagiarist writer and the tyrant king. Lee Sung-Kuk laughed awkwardly. This is funny. I will make a text version. I am usually just a reader. This jerk, was he an illegal downloader? Jung Min-sob also spoke. But if we do this, won't we be the same as him? In the end, we are plagiarizing the original story to make a story. It made sense. I thought for a moment before saying, there is such a thing. Plagiarism is about not wanting you to know the original. A parody is more fun if you know the original, while a homage wants you to know the original. Oh, this is interesting. From now on, we will be making a homage. It was true. I hoped that many people would come to know SSSSS grade infinite regressor. That way he would be quickly ruined. We borrowed a laptop from Gong Pildu and started typing. We didn't have a lot of experience in writing novels, so we had to put our heads together. Jung Min-sob pulled his hair and said, "Writing is so difficult. Writers are great. Just write roughly. We just need information that will attract them. Rather, an imperfect revelation might be easier to deceive the prophets. Mix the truth and lies." I watched what Jung Min-sob typed and added some information. Let's change the names of the people in the novel. I am a bit anxious. Lee Hyun-sung and Lee Ji-hae would be shocked about being characters in the story. Whether I liked it or not, someday they would find out that this world was a novel. But it didn't have to be right now. Then Jung Min-sub unexpectedly said, "Well, I don't think you need to worry about that part." Hey! In fact, I tried to test some people by saying that this was a novel. But they didn't understand it at all. It is like a NPC. No matter how serious I am, they just take it as a joke. It was an unexpected piece of information. Jung Min-sub and the other apostles had spoken to characters several times about them being supporting actors. Thinking about the reactions of the characters at the time, there was definitely something strange. Jung Min-sub continued to speak. This was how the first apostle was able to easily find the prophets. The characters were very displeased by the words "this is a novel," or they didn't listen. Perhaps this was why the apostles used the term revelation. I suddenly felt uneasy when I heard this. I opened my mouth. What is the difference between the characters and us? Here? We are people in reality and characters are people in novels? Isn't that the difference? Then, when was this world divided into reality and a novel? Well, when the first scenario started. My question wasn't resolved with Jung Min-sub's answer. Jung Min-sub and Lee Sung-kook were obviously outsiders of the novel like me. It was because I couldn't see their information at first. But not long after, it was updated and I was able to look at their information in character list. Then were they now real people or were they characters? If everyone became a character over time. I looked at Yo Sang-ga and Lee Gil-young for a moment. The exclusive skill, character list, is activated. This person isn't registered in character list. Currently collecting information about the corresponding figure. Fortunately, I still couldn't see the information for both of them. Yo Sang-ga suddenly looked back at me and smiled. Lee Gil-young also looked at me. "What is it, Hyung?" "It is nothing." I didn't know why, but I felt strangely relieved. Soon after, we approximately completed the novel. The quality was so bad that if it was serialized in Textpedia, it would have bombed. But that didn't matter, right-o. Let's first sprinkle the information that the Book of Revelations has been leaked. Lee Sung-kook asked. Is there enough time to spread the information? Dong-hun will take care of it. If we take advantage of the hermit invalid, it can be spread in a short amount of time. Oh, Dong-hu. I see. But what if not all stations are capable of the internet? Then we will send someone. I looked behind me. Kang Il-hun nodded as if he had been waiting. Lee Sung-kook agreed. Ah, that's right. If it is Il-hun Sai. I had forgotten. Kang Il-hun Sai, are you ready? Kang Il-hun, the deputy of Dongdaemun. It was worth intentionally saving this guy. Kang Il-hun nervously opened his mouth. Leave it to me. I am confident that I can catch them. I just need to spread rumors. The character Kang Il-hun will follow your will. Your understanding of this person has increased. Kang Il-hun. It was finally time to use the attribute of rumors expert. The time remaining until the scenario ended was 44 hours. The next day, the game would begin. Dong-hun, thank you. I am just paying you back, so don't worry. The character Han Dong-hoon trusts you a little bit. Since last time, Hermit King of Shadows Han Dong-hoon had moderately opened up his heart to me. The fact that I saved him from the prophets seemed to have played a bigger role than expected. I feel a strange sense of familiarity with you. Familiarity? Since a long time ago, are you also a hermit? No, I wasn't. Although I was a bit timid. I see. I feel an unknown wall with Hyung. I can't explain it well, but I like the feeling. Isn't it usually bad to feel a wall? I only believe in people with walls. In order to understand someone, I think I should face that wall first. A person who was barely 17 years old was speaking like a wise man. In any case, the wall. I was sure that he was right. Some walls couldn't be crossed no matter how desperate the person. In any case, the rumor has spread. But how will you sow the revelations? On the internet again? No, the wrong people will read it if I place it on the internet. I will sell it. Sell it? How? I started to explain to Han Dong-hoon. There were 40 hours remaining until the end of the scenario. I finally summoned the Chung Neuro group members. This journey won't be easy. If we can't take Changsan Station in the next 40 hours, our group will be wiped out. However, our current forces isn't enough. Well, since when has it been easy? Who is the opponent? I replied to Jung Hyuon's question. He is called the Tyrant King. He is one of the top 7 kings of Seoul and the king with the largest territory. Lee Hyun-sung asked this time. What type of person is he? He is someone who started from Dobongjiu and built his own kingdom. He says that any beautiful or handsome man and woman will become concubines, while any ugly people will be killed or become slaves. Jung Hee-won frowned. If Dr. Sai is caught, you will become a slave. Well, I think it will be dangerous for Hyun-sai. Being a concubine is difficult. Why don't we just go ahead and kill him? It will be hard because his sponsor is quite strong. Now there are 2 paths. Take his flag or take over his headquarters, Dobong Station. Neither was easy, causing everyone to feel tense. I decided to get to the point. We will go to Gwanghwamun. Here? Didn't you say not to fight them? They will come to us. Why? I leaked a bit of information. We have to consider the time he moves, so we will leave soon. Everyone should be prepared, eh? What is it? I subtly smiled at Yo Sangara's question. Nothing. It is just happening faster than I expected. Han Dong-hoon's message appeared on my smartphone. I was able to put it on the exchange. But is it okay? Yes, it's fine. Well done. Then system messages entered my ears one after another. The items on the exchange have been sold. The items on the exchange have been sold. At that moment, a trembling voice was heard from the air. Are you a scammer? What is the reaction among the constellations? They are really excited. The filtering limit has started to unravel. There are those who gave it as gifts to their incarnations. But if you do this, you will receive attention again. Will you be okay? And if you release all the information you know, won't it go against you? It isn't disadvantageous. I still had information remaining. The information I released wasn't information I needed. Rather, it was information that would be damaging to someone. Give me the coins. Here. 16 volumes of SSSSS grade infinite regresses have been sold on the exchange. You have earned 16,000 coins. Of course, I didn't release the information for free. Anyone who needed to information would have a sponsor, so it was better to sell it on the exchange than to release it for free on the internet. If I released the Book of Revelations for free, it would be more suspicious. But what if I sold it? Of course they would buy it. It was because they would mistakenly think the information had value. The quality of the information was sometimes determined by value rather than content. By the way, it was 16,000 coins. This was a profit. I spoke to the people. I'm sorry, but I will sleep for a while. Aren't you taking it too easy? I also need to sleep. I lay down. Yo Sanga covered me with a thin blanket. Jung Hee-won still found it absurd. Then I fell asleep. After a while, a system message was heard in my blurred consciousness. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3 has been activated. So far, I figured out that Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint was divided into 3 stages. Stage 1 allowed me to read the simple actions or emotions of characters. Stage 2 allowed me to see deep inside the character. Stage 3 allowed me to see the surrounding scenery where the characters were located or directly immerse myself in the character. So far, I had entered Stage 3 twice. Once was in my dream and the second time was when I died. In my dream, I saw Yo Jonghyuk leaving Gumho Station. When I was dead, I witnessed the scenery of Chungneuro. These 2 incidents had similarities. My consciousness was muddled and unstable. But this wasn't the only condition to trigger Stage 3. There was one important fact. It was, "Representative Nim, are you watching? Damn, is this right?" Kang Il-hun muttered to himself as he gazed into the air. "I have spread it to the king of tyrants. Those guys will move soon. By the way, you are listening to me, right?" The character and I needed to be thinking about each other at the same time. After a while, my point of view shifted to Kang Il-hun. The man smiled, revealing his white teeth. A man wearing a magnificent crown and a coat of gold slowly rose from the throne, women surrounding him. A new revelation. It is certain. I bought the information using coins. Who released the information? It is probably one of the prophets. Is it reliable? I checked some of the hidden pieces in the revelations and they were all true. The man laughed, revealing his teeth. Let's go to Guanghuamen. Before the others get there first. Good. The tyrant king was finally moving. Now the problem was on the other side. I thought about Jung Minsob. Representative Nim. I have arrived. The timing was good. Jung Minsob was at Sejong University and heading to Guanghuamen in advance. He then looked at the surrounding scenery. I am certain since he is wearing the same hood like a chunny. It is him. People were in the lower part of the building. As I thought, the plagiarist was the fastest. Guanghuamen contained one of the hidden pieces most useful for the third regression. The plagiarist wouldn't be able to run away from this place. The problem is that more people are coming. Yeongjungpo, Yongsan, Seongdongju, the kings on those sides are moving. Isn't this becoming too big? No, it was what I was hoping for. The people who were hiding started to emerge one by one. It was better since I didn't need to visit each one individually. Finally, the fourth scenario was ending. The real War of Kings would begin. Chapter 60, Episode 13, War of Kings, 2. My consciousness rose silently and my senses slowly returned to reality. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3 has ended. The third stage was more tiring than I thought and I couldn't maintain it for long. In addition, I found out one more thing that I regretted. It was that using Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3 wouldn't always result in gaining a skill. It seemed to be a reward that could be obtained by entering the first-person protagonist's point of view. Unfortunate, I didn't know the entry requirements. It would be great if I could get Yo Jonghyuk's skills every time I fell asleep and used first-person protagonist's point of view. I opened my eyes and saw Jung Hee-won watching me. You were talking in your sleep again. Talking? No way. What did I say? It sounded like, Mother. Mother? Why was I saying that to myself? It was hard to know if this was the truth or not. Jung Hee-won just looked at me with a mysterious smile. I gave a cursory reply. Well, I'm not really worried about my mother. Rather, I have a request for Jung Hyun-sai. What is it? Hyun-sai, please don't participate in the Guanghuamen battle this time. Why? There is something else you need to do. I can only entrust Hyun-sai with it. Jung Hee-won licked her lips like she couldn't believe me. I will try. What is it? The first thing I did after conversing with Jung Hee-won was to decide who would stay in Cheongmuro and who would go to Guanghuamen. Jung Hyun-sai has a mission and I will decide the rest of the people remaining in Cheongmuro. The other members gulped. They looked like vassals about to be chosen by the king. First of all, Gong Pildu and Lee Hyun-sung will stay behind. Bah, I am just your slave. Gong Pildu scoffed like he already expected it. The problem was Lee Hyun-sung. The slightly pale face was troubled, as if he had somehow missed out on a promotion. Hyun-sung-sai must remain. I need someone to protect this place with Gong Pildu-sai. Hyun-sung-sai can protect Cheongmuro and lead the people as well as Yo-sang-sai. Yes. I understand. His expression was somewhat sad but he had no choice. There was a reason for leaving the steel sword behind. Hyun-sung SSO already has great skills. The problem is that the skill levels are too low. While we are gone, Hyunsengsai should increase the proficiency of Great Mountain Smash. Hyunsensai's help will be needed after the end of this scenario. Lee Hyunsung's face brightened slightly. Yep. Please leave it to me. Soldiers were the most efficient when following commands and when they had a routine. Thus, we embarked on the journey to Gwanghwamun. Apart from Lee Jihai and Yo Jonghyuk, who were impossible to control, the core members were Yo Sanga, Lee Gil-young and Lee Sungkook. The Chungmuro group members waved as they watched us leave. Deputanim. Come back safely. You must be safe. For a few days now, Yo Sanga's popularity had pierced the sky. Yo Sanga only led the people for a short amount of time, but everyone was concerned about her. However, Yo Sanga looked uneasy. Dr. Sai, will I be a help to you? Her self-deprecation had returned. I had to say it this time, even if she would be hurt. Yo Sangasai. You will be disruptive if you keep acting like this. Yes. Yo Sangasai is good enough. Would I take someone with me for no reason? I believe in Dr. Sai. But I can't be as helpful to you as Hyunsai or Hyunsung-sai. The two of them can't do what Yo Sangasai can do. Yo Sangasai is necessary for this plan. Yo Sanga's expression slightly relaxed as it was emphasized once again. Yo Sanga was an exceptionally talented person. She just needed confidence. Didn't you study Korean history before? Ah, yes. Yo Sanga's expression became brighter once mentions of the past emerged. But it was only for a moment, as she quickly became grouchy again. It is useless now. It isn't useless. This is why I brought Yo Sangasai along. Originally, I hadn't intended to give this role to Yo Sanga. There was a suitable person if I went down to Gwangjinju. However, I didn't have time to look for him, so Yo Sanga would have to be enough. The Yo Sanga that I knew was smart enough to memorize the entire history of South Korea just to get a first-grade degree in Korean history. Do you remember the statue of Samyeongdang last time? Yes. There will be many similar things on the way to Gwanghwamun. There is the National Museum and several statues. Yo Sanga shouted once she realized what I was saying. Ah, I see. That reminds me, the power of the constellations can remain in relics or remnants of themselves. Yes, Yo Sangasai's mission is to find such keepsakes or relics. I understand. I will use my head. There are some famous people, but the more unknown they are, the better. Despite being on the same level, a constellation's strength varied according to their popularity. It could be seen in the difference between Samyeongdang and Duke of Loyalty and Warfare. The items left behind by Samyeongdang were B grade, while the sword left by the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare had the quality to be S grade. We need to gather as much items on the way to Gwanghwamun as possible. Our side has a relatively small number of people. Perhaps the Tyrant King had come with hundreds of incarnations. The plagiarist would have his own forces. I also needed to be careful of the kings who came from Yeongjungpo, Yongsan and Seongdongju. The latter part of the fourth scenario was just like a proxy war for the constellations. At the end of this scenario, an event greatly coveted by the constellations was hiding. Unlike before, the incarnations would have a high coordination with their constellations and the risks would increase accordingly. Since many constellations were determined by the history of their lives, Yo Sanga, who knew history, would be useful in many ways in this scenario. Yo Sanga suddenly clapped. Ah, that reminds me of a place. Here. I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly, but there will probably be Gwangsengyo Shrine near here. Link. Gwangsengyo? Yes, it is on the way, and the power of a great person might be there. He isn't South Korean, but... Not South Korean? I was a reader of Ways of Survival and I had never heard of Gwangsengyo. In any case, we decided to move according to Yo Sanga. We walked for a while. The first one who screamed was Lee Sungkook. Is that it? There really was an old shrine nearby. The Gwangsengyo Shrine. There was a place like this in the middle of the city? I read the description and was even more surprised. Hey, it was this person? It was an unexpected figure. It was a shrine for one of the best Chinese god of war. Yo Sangha asked with a tense expression. Now what? I looked around. An idol couldn't be seen. Let's pray. This was different from Samyongdang. I wouldn't always be able to get a good reward for destroying the idol. We collected water from the shrine and prayed quietly. Some time passed. Then a system message was heard. This shrine has been neglected for a long time. A constellation who loves Gondaus is pleased. A constellation who loves Gundaus has revealed his modifier. The constellation Lord of the Beautiful Beard, Marquis Zhuangmo, has blessed you. Teal, constellation is Guan Yu equals Link. Lord of the Beautiful Beard, Marquis Zhuangmo. He was Chinese, but he was a great person almost everyone in South Korea knew. It was because this constellation was Guan Yu from Romance of the Three Kingdoms. The constellation's blessing increases your strength and physique by 5 for the next 24 hours. Lee Sung-kook turned rosy like a flower. Crazy! Representative Nim, isn't this a complete jackpot? It is a decent start. I didn't know why there was a shrine for Guan Yu in Seoul, but it shouldn't be strange when there was a shrine for the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare in Japan. Guan Yu was world famous, just like the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare. I guess it is hard to get an item from here. It would have been nice to get something like a Guandao. He was a great person of China. Even if there was an idol, it didn't mean a good item would appear in South Korea. It was more likely that an incarnation of China had obtained it. He couldn't be compared to the great sage, the equal of heaven or Ariel, but he wouldn't lose when it came to the Chinese constellations. Li Gulyung grabbed my collar. Hyung. The cockroach's antennae was moving wildly. I had a bad hunch and saw a group walking in the distance. There were approximately 50 people. I used calm observation and saw that their average physical body stats were around level 40. It was lacking compared to the apostles, but it was still enough to call them elites. A warlord with 50 elites. Lee Sung-kook muttered, that armor, somewhere. The historical clothing reminded me of a museum gallery. I looked at the members and they were all handsome men. Lee Sung-kook muttered, isn't that Hwang Sung-min in the first row? He seems to be an entertainer. Anyone who saw it would think it was a historical drama filming, but bloodthirst was coming from them. A man came forward and pointed his spear towards me. Who is blocking the way of the king? Who are you? I guessed, but I still asked. I thought I would meet this person later, but the timing was faster than expected. A woman's voice was heard from among the group of men. That brown flag, are you also a king? So what? I didn't think there would be a king in Jeongju. It is amazing. Her voice was like petals blowing in the spring breeze. It was a stage voice. I replied, kings are now common in this world. A king might be common, but not just anyone can become king. Everyone, open the path. The retainers moved in unison and a woman dressed in a royal costume appeared in the center of the ranks. Her hair was raised in an elegant manner. She was a stunning beauty that could easily be the heroine of a historical drama. Are you Minute Jiwon? Lee Sung-kook stuttered. The woman laughed. You recognize me? I am a fan. Lee Sung-kook stepped forward in a spellbound manner. Fool. The hypnotist was being bewitched first? The exclusive skill Permanent LV2 is activated. I used it the moment I met Lee Sung-kook's eyes. I'm sorry. The woman's eyes narrowed. By the way, it was interesting. Lee Sung-kook recognized the name Minute Jiwon like she was a person who actually existed. One of the 7 kings of Seoul, the king of beauty, was a real person? I felt a bit strange. It was because the real name of the king of beauty in Ways of Survival was Minute Jiwon. Was it just a coincidence? I should check it out. The exclusive skill, character list is activated. Fortunately, the skill was activated safely. Character information. Name, Minute Jiwon. Age, 26 years old. Constellation support, Lady of the Brocade Sleep. Private attribute, actor, rare, king of beauty, hero. Exclusive skills, weapons training LV5, military command LV2, love affair demon LV4, skin correction LV1, 1,000 faces LV3, acting LV2. Stigma, heavenly charm LV4, unique heroine LV3. Overall stats, physique LV18, strength LV18, agility LV21, magic power LV23. Overall evaluation, an incarnation with an excellent sponsor behind her. Her wonderful beauty will shine even more with the backing of her sponsor. Her army will only be loyal to her unless her beauty fades. As expected, she was the king of beauty in the original Ways of Survival. Looking at character list, she didn't seem to be a real person. Then how did Lee Sung-keuk know her? Did it have something to do with Lee Sung-keuk's entry in the character list? I bowed my head once. Minute Jiwon Sai, it is an honor to meet you. Are you also my fan? Fan. She had an outstanding beauty, but it wasn't my style. Looking objectively, Yo Sang-ge was just as beautiful as her. Lee Sung-keuk was spellbound due to the unique skill this woman possessed. I deliberately spoke like I was in a historical drama. I'm not a fan. But do you know him? Seongdong-jiu's king. Minute Jiwon's expression hardened. You? Lady of the Brocade Sleep. There was only one constellation with such distinctive features in all of Ways of Survival. It looks like you have a very high degree of sympathy with your sponsor. Please tell this to your sponsor. It is an honor to meet the last Queen of Silla. Lady of the Brocade Sleep. This was the title for the last Queen of Shilla, Queen Jinseong, wiki link. The sponsor behind Minute Jiwon is greatly shaken. Don't panic. Didn't you come to realize Silla's wish? It sometimes happened like this. The coordination between sponsor and incarnation was overturned. The sponsor would force their unfulfilled wish onto their incarnation. It was a mistake often made by the senior constellations. There was a possibility of being destroyed by the posthumous storm. Minute Jiwon narrowed her eyes. You. Now, according to the development of Ways of Survival, the three areas of Seongdong-jiu, Yongsan-jiu, and Yeongjunpo-jiu were fighting fiercely. Just like the old days on the Korean peninsula. Then a message popped up. A bounty scenario has occurred. Hey? Bounty? Bounty scenario, unification of the three kingdoms. Category, bounty. Difficulty? Clear conditions. The great people of Silla want the incarnation of Silla, Minute Jiwon, to become king of the three regions. Help incarnation Minute Jiwon and kill the kings who have the backgrounds of Later Beach and Taibong. If this scenario succeeds, you will gain the favor of the constellation, Lady of the Brocade Sleep. Time limit, 38 hours. Compensation, 2,000 coins. Failure. I stared at the scenario window blankly while Minute Jiwon sent me a coquettish smile. My sponsor wants to see your sincerity. Won't you accept? I won't speak much longer. Become my subordinate. She spoke in such a domineering tone despite only offering 2,000 coins. I couldn't help smiling. This sponsor was completely seeing me as a poor person. The constellation prisoner of the golden headband dislikes the sponsor of Minute Jiwon. The constellation's secretive plotter is laughing at the constellation. 2,000 coins have been sponsored. 5 volumes of Revelation SSSSS grade Infinite Regressor have been sold on the exchange. You have obtained 5,000 coins as compensation. I was curious about what this woman would look like if she heard the messages that I was hearing right now. What did she want me to do for 2,000 coins? TL, this chapter was a pain to translate with all the titles and Korean history. The later part is referring to the later three kingdoms of Korea, from 892 to 936.